Welcome back, everybody. Just Mike here. This is my, we'll call it, two Oompa player clocks, Cuckoo clocks. Realistically, I'm not counting the first one that, if you look back at my videos, you'll see an Oompa player clock, and which was one of the nicer ones. And actually, this one I have now happens to be one of the nicer ones because it has the brass plate that goes underneath the people. Now the sad thing is I only have two of the people, so this clock might have two of the band players, and who knows, maybe it'll have two gnomes with them. Anyway, let me show you the clock. Now this clock didn't come with weights, so you got to kind of price your clocks when you're getting them. Number one is the Oompa player clocks. That usually brings up the price there, but it usually depends on the person that's buying the clock, or whoever the bidders are. If it's going to be bid on, this is what's going to bring the price of the clock around. That sucker's in there tight. It's kind of hard to get off of there. Let me get a better screwdriver. It's actually quite a distance to try to reach over there with everything in the way, and the bird's actually under the roof, in which doesn't matter because when it's hanging up on the wall, you'll see the bird then. There we go. So on the movement it says 25, and it doesn't say anything else as in whose this is, but I do believe by the looks of this lower part, this probably is a Schmeckenbecker clock. But I could be wrong. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take the music box out. I'll undo those two screws there. We'll take the bellows out. And I have a feeling the bellows are glued in because we have two screws and I don't see any nails. That's not going to make me happy. Hopefully, well, I doubt anyone else has worked on this either. Otherwise, they would have installed nails, or else they glued it back in too. So let me get the music box out and we'll head over to the bellows. Beautiful. Before I get too much further, and so I don't forget, I need to take these chains off. At one time you can see the music box is glued in. Nice, it fell apart, fell out, whatever. I got the screw out of this one. It's glued in there because usually I push right in the hole where the whistle noise comes out and nothing's moving. So you just got to use your putty knife. And I like actually the smaller ones, the 1 inch, but this is all I have. And these are usually flat on one side, and then it's got an angle here. That's what's nice about getting underneath there and starting to work it, including a hammer when needed. So let me get this off of here. So you can see someone's been here already. They marked it front. Obviously, they didn't want to spend the money either on a single nail through here. So I would say whoever worked on this clock, in my opinion, didn't even think outside the box. But that's my opinion. Let me get this other screw out and do the same thing to that bellow, or the whistle box. They put glue on there, but just a little dab and it didn't stick, or I should say this one just fell right out. And I guess the next thing we need to do is we're going to take this rod off that holds the pendulum. It might even pop off without me doing anything. Nope, I need to still open a little bit. This clock's seen some moisture because we have rust on here. And now, actually the chain's loose, it just got stuck inside. So now I'll take the 4 screws out and we should be able to pop this right out of there. So down here you can see what this looks like when they're moving back and forth. And this brass disc, like I say, there's little wires on each one of these, which I would probably think they're taper pins, but you'd set that on there and then twist it until it caught. And now if you want to center this, now you can glue either the band players back on, your gnomes, or whatever it is you want to glue on there, if you didn't want to pay the high price that people want for the used gnomes. In fact, I think they want $80 a piece, each band member, on eBay. And at an actual clocks part place, I think it was $60 for the set. And that kind of blows it away for the price of the clock, or to have it repaired or whatever. And so you weigh it out what you want, if you want the band members on there, or if you want to put Lego people on there, you want to put gnomes on there. It's your choice if it's your clock and if you're fixing this thing. I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the bird, because we don't want him to break. And he's got fuzz and whatnot, and that's actually natural, mainly because they consider a cuckoo clock a dirty clock. The bird's always hanging out there, especially your dancers. It's got the 2 big holes there that's letting dust in all the time, besides the pendulum and the chains. And so that's another reason why every 5 to 7 years you want to clean your or get a can of air, blow your movement out, and then re-oil all the pivots on the front and the back, because it doesn't do any good just doing the back side when the front's running dry and wearing out, if not eventually stop the clock, because the oil will start turning to a gum, and after the gum then it turns into a varnish and just freezes everything up if the gummy oil didn't do that in the first place. And the new oil loosens the gumminess, as in if you do it on time, you're causing it to not gum up. Anyway, get the music people off. There's a E-clip down here. See if we can get that off nicely, or need my smaller screwdriver. They have a little hole in them, and if you catch that hole and give it a twist, you can get them out of there. And I do believe the people should come off now, yep. This looks like it's had a cleaner sprayed in there, or just, I don't know. Like I say, it's kind of nasty, but we'll get all that cleaned up. Let's see here. This platform's staying on here because it's, you know, I guess we'll call it pop riveted on there. Let's go ahead. Well, we only have one thing on this side, two things. This here goes for when the cuckoo bird is getting ready to cuckoo. This will drop down and trigger, down here will trigger the music box. This wire here is to hold the governor or the fan in the music box, because this will be coming down and holding. As soon as the cuckoo bird's done cuckooing, this will pop clear up out of the way. I mean, it won't be clear up here, but it'll up out of the way, and then this will release the fan, and your music should be able to play. So our star wheel here that operates the gong and the two lift arms that lift the wires to the bellows this will be an easy timing issue, because number one, we have a screw on here, and all you have to do is get the clock to stop cuckooing by running the wheel. Once it's done, then we can adjust this to wherever we need to, so that last arm drops and doesn't have a problem. Normally this is loose enough, it should come right off, and it did. Sometimes, I don't know why, but sometimes they're stuck on there. Some of them don't have that screw in there. They're pressure fitted on, and you can get them off, but I don't deal with it unless I have to work on the winder, because the winder's just, that's the same thing, just underneath there, underneath the plate. And let's see, so let's take this trigger off. Oh, and by the way, even before you take this movement out, if you're going to do one, get pictures so you know where the lift wire goes. This one here, does it go to the inner one or the outer one? Same with the longer one. Does it go to the inner one or the outer one? Or the left and the right? So you want to take pictures, let's say now, because this here is kind of giving you an idea of the angle it needs to be in. You're going to still have to probably adjust this, but if you accidentally get it right, cool. Same with this side. Get pictures, because doesn't that look confusing? It's not, but doesn't that confusing? And as you take it apart, if you want, get pictures of the layers as you took them off, so you can put them all back on. If you look at your pictures, the layers to get them back on. And we'll be showing you where the timing, or how to set the timing here so it cuckoos properly by dropping properly on this here snail. The cutout of the snail here is 1 o'clock. Then it goes to 2, after that step down, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then finally 12. And this here will drop down onto it. Underneath all this, there's a 2-point star, I call it, and usually if this thing only plays music on the hour only, then one end of the star will be just a little bit shorter and won't lift as high, and so all these won't get triggered. It'll, on a half hour, it'll just trigger up to like right where it is now. That's going to cuckoo only one time. And they're clear inside there, so I'm not going to be able to turn them. And it helps have my fingers off of them so they will work. But anyway, the one star that's higher, it lifts this up high enough that it'll cause this rod here to drop all the way down. And it's probably not right now because it's the minute hand has to turn once it's ready to cuckoo. Usually about 10 minutes till the hour, or 10 minutes till the half hour is when this thing will trigger, but not play until the actual time it's supposed to play. Anyway, like I say, get some pictures in here so you don't mess up. On the inside here, get pictures and locate your shaft for your hands downward. Now take the pictures. And the reason why you're doing that is so when you go to put it back together again, you know this shaft is going to be down and know which direction these here are supposed to be in, the gears. So here we're going to go ahead and take this one has to come off first normally, and then the next one, and then the next one. When you put it back together again, this goes on first, so you just do it in reverse order. This here is, I guess you'd call it tied. What it is, it's wrapped around the wire just a little bit, its own self. And it goes through the hole. Now that I have that undone, now this will swing around and come out. See that shorter wire? That's the locker. It locks it in the frame. The taller one is what hits that bigger star wheel that tells it to hit the coil for the gong. Here's our next wire. Same thing. Shorter wire. Locks it. Same thing with this one. Shorter wire locks it. And that's taken care of. Let's go ahead and take this off now. And we're pretty much done with this side. Now we can work on this side. We're going to take the Cuckoo bird post off next. This wire is wrapped around and it just hung over the side here. And it's going to keep hooking up. I'm not worried about it. So what you want to do here is crack these open just a little bit. You don't want to get carried away. That one doesn't want to crack. It's already really open. You loosen them just a little bit. When you put your screwdriver in here, that one fell out. This one's probably not even, oh, it's holding. You give it a twist and they come right out. Now in your pictures, it's going to show this here was on this side of the peg. So that's another thing you need to pay attention to when you're taking your pictures. Some of these things could be a little bit difficult for you on figuring out. So that's what you do. or how it works, I should say. So here we got E-clip, and this E-clip. Almost went to no man's land. So taking them off, now you can get the snail off, and this here. So once you get these two off, maybe you're going to want to take pictures again, and this comes off too. All that washer and whatnot was on here. And now we have this spring that's holding down on here. You just lift that up and pull it out a little bit. It starts swinging around, and it's going to come off of that there. It hooks to the frame. When you lift this up, it releases from the frame. It's supposed to release from the frame. And there we go. And so now we have these I Hate You. They're not called E-clips. I forgot what they're called. I finally got a special tool, because I showed it once knowing what I was going to end up with people complaining about. But I used to knock these out by tapping on them until they were flush. But doing that, you need to make sure these aren't hanging up anywhere, in which this would be the first one you would tap out to get it up out of the way. And then this one. Now, because this platform is in the way, I'm not sure if there's a way to get that. I don't see any screws, so whether these have been, that might be what we'll call pressure fitted, so you could pry that out of there. I don't like to take things out. That might end up being a problem, getting back on, keeping back on, whatever. And so this one here more than likely won't be coming out, but this one can. But you still need to take that off, because you're going to separate these plates. The special tool I have to get those out of there. It's got the nice little tips on there, and when you squeeze it, it opens. So when you're putting this movement back together again, well, actually, that probably won't even come out anyway. We'll see if it does. Oh, and by the way, right here is that 2-point star wheel I was talking about. One's normally a little bit higher than the other, unless the music plays on the half hour also. So we got this one out. Let's just work it out of there. This I'm not taking off. I call it the Pac-Man. This is pressure fitted on, and you can get that off of there. You can leave it on there and then adjust this by holding on to the gear to get that. There was a peg here on, ooh, that peg would fall down into the middle here, and that's what you want, is to fall down right in the mouth of that, which I'll show you once I put this back together again. But that's pressure fitted on. This here gear and whatnot's pressure fitted on and can be taken off, but I'm not taking that off either. Normally there's no real reason to take those off. It leaves things in the way, but you can work around them. So anyway, now's the time to get yourself your cup, dessert dish or whatever to set this on so you can take these nuts off. And what we're going to try to do is get this plate off and be able to see the gears still in their places and take another picture of that, because it's nicer to take a picture and put it together seeing right on top of where those gears are supposed to be, compared to, yes, you can do it, but having to look through here, okay, that gear goes there because I remember, or I can see the picture, but some of these, we got things in the way. So anyway, I don't use a cup. I work on enough clocks. I got my fancy feet, and we're just gonna put those on there, and I'll be right back. So I got them all off. Now let's see if we can carefully work this plate up. And depending on how dirty your clock is, you might have to watch, and you might have to take and tap gears back down, trying to keep them in place, because the idea is you want to see what this thing looks like. And because this is still here, we'll lift this up and drag it at an angle to get it out. So now is a great time to get pictures so you can see what the gears look like, where things are, that kind of stuff. Some of these gears will say look exactly alike, but they do different things, or they might be just a little bit smaller, so that's why it's good to get pictures. The thing about videoing this is if you started to put it together and you messed up, you're wondering what the heck, you can go back and look at your video and see what it was or how it was or whatever. This one's really dry, and I mean dragging dry, and I'm almost wondering if that there is on too tight, but we're going to clean this up anyway and put a little bit of lube in there and see what we think. You can see it's got that 3-fingered, I think they call it a pressure washer or whatever. That's to keep this from moving back and forth as you're winding it, and hold this together. Instead of that, there's a pressure fitted washer on there that's holding it all together. Oh, I didn't look. That might have a screw in it, but we'll look at that later. Let's take this out. It's just dirty as all. So here's our winder that has the black plastic on it. Again, it's good to see that. so you know which side it's on, like say pictures. See, I don't know if you can see it or not, but the dirt on the end of it, the old oil, whatever you want to call it. These gears right here, the bigger ones, actually look pretty good. Check your fan, it's pretty stiff, that's good. If you blow on it to spin around, then you need to tighten this up so it holds on there tighter. This is your governor to the Cuckoo bird. If the Cuckoo bird's cuckooing too fast, this is your culprit more than likely. There's your warning pin that's on there. This here should be hooked to the Pac-Man. Yep. So you got our winder. This one feels a lot better. It's not dragging as hard winding. And now we have, which hopefully you got good pictures of it. This here is what locks your bird in. This here, that peg, it's usually best when you're putting it back in to put it in the mouth there. And also it's got a divot here. That's because there's a gear that sits here and you have to slide this in and around that gear. That's so it prevents it from touching the gear. This, we have another E-clip to take out right here. And when you put it back together again, don't forget to get oil on that, because it'll probably never see oil again, because how many people think about looking inside the clock and, oh yeah, that was in there. Once you get that E-clip off of there, you'll have to work it around. It's got, we'll call it a double 2-point star on there also. And let's see. This here is all probably pressure fitted on there, but the way I look at it, I'm not having an issue with it. I'm just going to clean it just the way you see it here. Well, besides taking these fancy dancy legs off of here. This is with it cleaned up, and because this is a side that shows when you open the back of the clock, I'm going to go ahead and use my polish on this, and I also use this. But first, this is what I use to shine them up, make them really nice looking. On this one, this is facing the inside of the clock, and so you don't necessarily see it, and it's going to be too hard to try to clean around all of this stuff here, and so I'm not going to worry about it. The only thing I plan on using is a toothpick in each one of these pivot holes. I'll do it on the front and the back, or the inside, and I'm going to do it also with this one, but first I'm going to clean this so I can make sure to get all the cleaner and whatnot out of the holes. This here is just to show you an example. This side wasn't clean, this side was, with just that. So I wanted to, or forgot to tell you, when you use this or anything that's going to be a polish, your rag is going to turn black. And to get the final result of a really nice shine instead of an iffy shine, make sure to change your rag out or get a clean spot, because you can see the black here. The finished product I don't want to use there. I want to use on the clean side, and that really makes this thing look nice. Now to use a toothpick or two on this. Now that I have it all clean, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in, because it's going to be fighting to get around all these other gears, and why not? It's in, all I need is the clip on there. Anyway, I have the parts that go inside the clock, the movement, and then all over here I have all the stuff that belongs on the outside, and it's less frustrating to your mind if you separate them, because this doesn't look like very much that goes back in, so it should be easy enough. So you can see this thing's not quite, almost right down in where it needs to be. And for that little adjustment, take your pick. Leave it alone or grab a hold of this and turn it just slightly so it'll go down where it needs to go. Now you have to hold the gear that will spin it. Well, that will spin this, so that way you can still turn it. I can't get my finger there. I can get my finger here. That fits down in there better. But it'll still shut off because the warning pin back here is able to catch this. That's the main thing there. Now this, you see that vibrating around there? That's because it doesn't have these other gears here that would normally hold it up a little bit once it gets cocked to start moving. And you'll see that after I get these other gears on. So the next thing we're going to do is get these arms and the gong hammer, and we're going to install them. So we want the longest arm first. Just put that in there. Oh, before I do, let me tighten these nuts up. I haven't even done that yet. So now the nuts are tight. I'm going to take the longer arm one first. You're going to get that set in the hole, and it's in. The shorter armed one. It's done. Then the hammer. And it's done. Now all you have to do is take that spring and bring it through that hole up and around, and we'll say tie a knot, which all you're doing is just bring it through the spring and bending it over. And there, we got it tied. So trying to hold the winder that operates the gong and the cuckoo. We're going to put this on there. Get these bars back up where they need to be. And this would be a gong, cuckoo. At that coo is where you want to set it. It'd help if I had it in the camera. We're going to bring this around where I can get to the screw. We got a gong, cuckoo. Right there, we want that. That's going backwards on us. We want that screw tight, and then we'll try it out again. This is a little difficult because these aren't hooked to the bellows. So anyway, let's try it again. We got a gong, cuckoo. And there it actually stopped on its own. So that's what we want. Gong, cuckoo. That cuckoo, that last one is really close. But it's shutting off. And because it's able to, or not shutting off, but able to get that last tone in there, now we're not ramping up or when it's ready to cuckoo again, that this isn't already starting to lift, because the less stress we can put on the clock movement, the better. Now when the warning pin hits, it probably will start hitting on here. So anyway, over to this side now. So on this side, we're going to put our plastic gear in. Such a shame. It's in. This here, see right there is where it dropped, even though we're going to do some things, we'll say. Get this down onto the gear. And then this part that tells the clock how many times the cuckoo. I'll put that on there. And I want that I keep moving the gear that's on there on this little wheel. That's how you set it back. So that's where it would ride. So I need the nut so I can turn this, because we don't know if this cuckoo's on the half hour also or not. And on the half hour, this will not drop all the way down. Just hit it. It's kind of hard to tell at the 1 o'clock. Let's move this around where we can see this thing moving. There's our half hour. You notice it didn't drop all the way. See, that's awful too close, in my opinion. See right there, it's going to go ahead and start doing its thing. So I'm going to move this, lift this up, and move it 1 tooth further. Maybe. There we go. Here's the half hour. It's not going to drop all the way. Now we're going to come up to the hour. You notice this isn't vibrating up and down. That's because it has everything such as this here, so it can only go down so far. Before it was going down too far, and that wasn't a good thing. I mean, for being able to test this, I guess we'll put it that way. So anyway, we're going to bring it around to the 12. Let's just shove that up there. There's the half hour. See, that's falling decently, has room. It's not halfway catching on the hump. And right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The half hour. 1. Now the 1 o'clock, see, we got this pointer. It's already into here, so it's not going to fall. too far. 1:30, 2 o'clock, right there it fell, and it's going. Beautiful. So we have that set. So now we need to put on the arm for the cuckoo bird, and remember this here piece needs to go on this side of that peg. Normally I fail every time, but I try to catch that spring wire there on there and see if I can bring this around without falling off, and so far I'm successful at it. I guess I'm not successful at it. There it fell off again. So anyway, don't worry about it. Bring it around that peg and then push these in and then crimp them, but don't crimp them too hard to where they're catching or causing drag on your clock, because that cuckoo bird might not want to come out then. Wiggling it. It looks like I could use a little bit more here and here. That doesn't feel bad. Now let me wrap the spring back under a couple times and hook it to the frame. I got it wrapped around this twice and then hooked it to the frame like it was before. Oops. So that's got enough spring. I got that and that oiled, so now I can put the bigger washer on here that's going to hold the snail on. And then we can put the E-clip on both of these. I'm going to put a drop of grease right here. I don't know if maybe that's what they had on there, but it was kind of nasty looking, like it was a cleaner because it was turning green. I don't need a ton. So now I get the E-clip right on there. I got the E-clip on, and then I did oil the shaft also, so that way this here moves really nice now compared to is all stiff and everything. So let's see. I guess we have this left to put on, and then we're, technically speaking, done with this. We'll have to now rebuild the bellows. I'm going to put tie-back paper on them. So now that I got this all back together again, it's time, which maybe we should have done it sooner. That's okay. It's time to rebuild these things, and I'm going to show it in fast motion if at all, because I do have a video out on if you bought new bellows that are already made, how to put them on, or I have a video out on the using tie-vac, which this is what I got here. Now, with the sheet of tie-vac paper, you want to bend this in half. And then cut down the line so you have two pieces. So now you lay the one sheet out. You give a little bit of extra room here so you can fold it over the end. And now you mark this here so you know where you're going to start. If you got a pin that works. Now that we got the mark, go ahead and bring it around and mark on, we'll call it the back side. Right there's our mark. And give it a little bit of room for fold over. And then cut that off. So now that we have it cut, this here piece is going to be, we only need a little bit of it to use as a hinge. And I can say this is 3/4 to 1 inch. And you'll be gluing that right there. And of course that'll get cut off on the end. This here can be level with the sides because you have overlap that'll come over and help seal that. Now that you let this thing, let's say, set a minute or so in case there's any glue inside here, you notice how it doesn't want to go down. So you can put a clamp on there, or I made these shipping wires out of some real soft wire. You can buy a bundle of this for tying rebar together. Just clip that off, make it, and it's enough to hold this thing shut so it starts getting its memory of being shut. I went ahead and installed my chains, and now I'm going to drop this into the box and see how she goes. I'm going to put the hand shaft into the hole where you hang the clock at, if I can. Kind of big, we'll say, because of the dancers and whatnot. And I didn't take off my rings, so I'm going to have to get them off because they're going to become the hook because of the way they're set up or whatever. As in when you take them out and thread them, they always, let's call it, go in backwards. So I got a magnetic screwdriver to catch my chain to make this much easier instead of fishing in there with my needle nose pliers and grabbing it. So get that in there. I'll be right back. So here we have the bellows in. And let's see if I can get this to run. I gotta find the right chain so I can pull on it. And then the music. So I guess now we're ready to hang it on the wall and see how well it does. I don't have the right size weights on here. I'm going to have to find some. So we got the clock working good. This clock takes 275 gram weights. My other clock that has the Oompha players takes a 420. So they all might be different. And normally you'd go by the frame, look in the book, and look at the suggestions of what that frame's supposed to take. I don't remember if I looked at this in the book or not, but I do know the music's playing a lot slower now. Not slow, but a lot slower now with those weights. Anyway, I'm glad to have that one done and ready to hang on the wall. I have it leveled. I did still have to level it and had to bend the wire just behind the pendulum wire just a little bit, holding the top, the bottom, and use your thumb to push it in to bend that bottom part. And if that don't work, use your other hand and bend it the other way, and just bend it a little bit at a time and listen to the tick-tock sound you want nice and even. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe because it's free. And until next time, let's see what kind of clock or cuckoo clock I'm going to work on. Anyway, God bless.